The moment I saw Aaron's lips press against Monica's in that dimly lit parking lot, my entire world fractured into shards of disbelief and despair. It wasn't just the act itself, it was the cold realization that everything I had built, everything I thought was unshakable, had been a lie. The nights that followed were an endless abyss of insomnia, each hour stretching longer than the last. My mind became a battleground, replaying their betrayal over and over like a broken record, taunting me with images I couldn't erase. I felt as though I were drowning in a sea of isolation, betrayed not only by the man who vowed to love me but also by a stranger who didn't even know me yet still chose to destroy my life. Every breath felt heavier, every heartbeat echoed louder in the silence of our now toxic home. There were moments when the weight of it all pressed down so hard that I questioned whether life was worth living anymore. How could he do this? How could she? These questions haunted me, gnawing at my soul until I felt hollow inside. But beneath the suffocating pain, something else began to stir, a quiet rage, a determination to reclaim what they had stolen from me. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about survival. I realized then that I couldn't let them win, not completely. If they could play games with my heart, I could rewrite the rules of the game entirely. And so, amidst the ruins of my shattered marriage, a plan began to take shape, one that would expose their deceit and force them to face the consequences of their actions. As I navigated the labyrinth of my crumbling marriage and meticulously plotted my revenge, the weight of maintaining appearances became an exhausting charade. Every day at work, every casual lunch with friends, every family dinner felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm of suspicion. The mask I wore, calm, composed, unbothered, was heavy, but it had to stay in place. One slip, one crack in my facade, and the entire world would see the chaos beneath, a betrayed wife turned avenger, juggling deceit, heartbreak, and betrayal. My colleagues admired my professionalism, they praised my ability to remain so put together even as Aaron grew distant and distracted. What they didn't know was that behind closed doors, I was unraveling thread by thread. The fear of exposure haunted me constantly. In our small professional circle, where gossip spread faster than wildfire, being labeled as the woman whose husband cheated felt like a scarlet letter I couldn't bear. Worse still, Monica's reputation preceded her, a vibrant, ambitious fitness trainer who exuded confidence. If anyone discovered we were entangled not just through Aaron but also through my calculated friendship with her, I'd be judged not only as a victim but as someone playing dangerous games. And in my industry, perception was everything. A single rumor could tarnish years of hard-earned respect. To make matters worse, Aaron himself began noticing changes in me, changes he couldn't quite explain. At first, his curiosity seemed innocent enough. He'd comment on how I looked happier or more energized lately, often asking if something was different about me. But then came the probing questions from mutual friends. "You two seem different lately," one colleague remarked during a team lunch. Their tone wasn't malicious, but it sent a chill down my spine. Each inquiry forced me to dig deeper into my reservoir of lies, crafting stories about newfound hobbies or self-care routines while swallowing the bitterness rising in my throat. Even within my own family, keeping up the act took its toll. My mother, ever perceptive, once asked why Aaron hadn't joined us for Sunday brunch in weeks. "He's been so busy with work," I lied smoothly, forcing a smile as I sipped my coffee. Yet inside, guilt gnawed at me, not for what I was doing, but for deceiving the people who cared most about me. They deserved honesty, yet revealing the truth meant risking their pity or judgment. It was easier to let them believe everything was fine, even when nothing could be further from the truth. But perhaps the hardest part was pretending around Jack, the man who unknowingly became both my confidant and accomplice. As he supported me through late-night strategizing sessions and offered encouragement when doubt crept in, I wondered how much longer I could keep him in the dark. His trust in me was unwavering, and the thought of losing that, if he ever learned the full extent of my schemes, terrified me. Still, I reminded myself that this wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about reclaiming power. So I pressed on, weaving my web of secrets tighter, knowing that each lie brought me closer to the reckoning I craved. Every encounter with Monica was like walking on a tightrope suspended over an abyss of raw emotion. Each session at the gym, each casual conversation over coffee, required every ounce of self-control I possessed. Beneath my carefully crafted smile lay a storm of rage and heartbreak that threatened to consume me whole. The hardest part wasn't just pretending, it was listening to her talk about Aaron in that sweet, affectionate tone, as if she had any right. One particular day during our workout, as she demonstrated a new exercise routine, she mentioned him offhandedly. "Aaron's so dedicated, isn't he? He always gives 110%. Her words hit me like a sledgehammer, and for a moment, I thought I might crumble right there. My vision blurred with tears I desperately fought to hold back. I turned away quickly, pretending to adjust the straps on my sneakers, using the excuse of tying my laces to hide the tremble in my hands. How could she speak his name so freely, so lovingly, when it felt like shards of glass slicing through my chest every time I heard it? But I reminded myself why I was doing this, why I needed her trust before I could shatter it completely. So, I swallowed the lump in my throat, forced a laugh, and said something neutral like, "Yeah, he's really committed." The words tasted bitter, but they kept the mask intact. That moment taught me how fragile my resolve was, and how much strength it would take to see this plan through. The deeper I delved into my plan, the more precarious everything felt. Every move I made was like walking on thin ice, one wrong step away from shattering the fragile illusion I had built. One afternoon, as I followed Aaron to the gym, a routine now ingrained in my daily life, I found myself face to face with an unexpected complication. A mutual friend, Sarah, whom we hadn't seen in months, suddenly appeared out of nowhere. She was heading straight toward me, her eyes narrowing with curiosity as she recognized my car parked suspiciously a few rows back. My heart leapt into my throat. If she questioned why I was lurking there, it would unravel everything. Thinking quickly, I grabbed my phone and pretended to be engrossed in a work call. "Yes, absolutely," I said loudly, forcing calmness into my voice while gesturing animatedly. "I'll send over the proposal by tomorrow morning." With feigned urgency, I stepped out of my car, pacing a few steps away as though discussing something critical. Sarah hesitated for a moment, then waved awkwardly before continuing on her way. As soon as she disappeared from sight, I exhaled sharply, my hands trembling as I slid back into the driver's seat. That close encounter left me shaken, reminding me how fragile this house of cards truly was. But that wasn't the only hiccup. Just days later, Aaron threw another wrench into my carefully orchestrated scheme. Without warning, he changed his gym schedule entirely, shifting from evenings to early mornings. When I arrived at our usual spot, expecting to catch him leaving or returning, his car was conspicuously absent. Panic surged through me. Had he grown suspicious? Was Monica involved in some new arrangement I didn't know about? The uncertainty gnawed at me, making sleep impossible. For hours, I sat alone in my car, replaying every detail of my actions, wondering if I'd missed something glaringly obvious. Each passing minute felt like an eternity, amplifying my dread that all my efforts might collapse before they even bore fruit. As Monica and I grew closer, a gnawing sense of guilt began to creep into my conscience. She wasn't just some caricature of the other woman, she was real, warm, and disarmingly genuine. Our coffee dates weren't filled with scheming or deceit on her part, they were moments where she laughed freely, shared her dreams, and even opened up about her own heartbreaks. It made me question everything. Was I truly justified in using her like this? Each smile she gave me felt heavier, each kind word more suffocating, as if the weight of my betrayal was pressing down on us both. I found myself lying awake at night, torn between two paths, one leading to sweet revenge, the other to preserving this fragile bond we had built. Could I really destroy someone who saw me as a friend, who trusted me without knowing the storm brewing beneath my calm exterior? But then Aaron's face would flash in my mind, his lies, his casual dismissals, the way he let Monica waltz into our lives, and the anger would surge again. Still, there were days when I wanted to stop, to tell Monica everything and beg for forgiveness. Yet, every time I considered it, fear held me back. What if she turned on me? What if my truth shattered not just her but also the last remnants of my dignity? The internal battle raged on, leaving me exhausted yet resolute. As I delved deeper into the tangled web of Aaron's deceit, another layer of betrayal revealed itself, one that shook me to my core. While sifting through our shared email account under the guise of organizing old files, I stumbled upon a series of alarming notifications from his investment accounts. It wasn't just frivolous spending on gym memberships and supplements. Aaron had secretly poured thousands of dollars into what appeared to be a Ponzi scheme. The emails were riddled with warnings about missed payments and mounting debts. My stomach churned as I realized how precarious our financial situation truly was. This wasn't just infidelity, it was recklessness, a blatant disregard for everything we had worked so hard to build together. The discovery only fueled my resolve. If Aaron thought he could gamble away our future while lying to both me and Monica, he was gravely mistaken. Every dollar lost was a reminder of his selfishness, and every hidden debt became ammunition in my arsenal for the impending divorce. But the revelations didn't stop there. In one of Monica's casual texts, ones I had read countless times but never fully dissected, I noticed something chilling. She believed Aaron was divorced. His lies weren't confined to our marriage vows, they extended to her as well. He had painted himself as a single man pursuing a new chapter, leaving Monica oblivious to the destruction she was causing. This revelation hit me like a second betrayal. Not only had Aaron shattered our life together, but he had also manipulated Monica into becoming an unwitting pawn in his game. She wasn't just the other woman, she was a victim of his deceit, much like I was. Yet, knowing this didn't soften my stance, it hardened it. If anything, it clarified the stakes. Aaron needed to face the consequences of his actions, not just emotionally but financially. With each piece of evidence I uncovered, my plan crystallized further. I wouldn't let him walk away unscathed. Armed with proof of his marital fraud and fiscal irresponsibility, I vowed to take back control, not just of my life, but of the future he tried to squander. The moment Aaron stepped into the restaurant, the atmosphere shifted like a storm cloud descending over the room. His eyes darted between Monica and me, confusion morphing into horror as he pieced together the connection. The once buzzing chatter of diners faded into an eerie silence, replaced by the weight of unspoken truths hanging in the air. Every guest at nearby tables froze mid-bite, their forks hovering above plates as they turned to watch the unfolding drama. It was as if time itself had slowed, amplifying every strained breath, every trembling movement. Aaron's face paled, his usual composure crumbling under the crushing realization that his two worlds, his wife and his lover, had collided in the most public way imaginable. He stumbled toward our table, his voice shaky but desperate. "Victoria, please, let's just talk about this. We can fix it. I'll change, I promise." His words were hollow, echoing off the walls of betrayal he had built himself. But I didn't flinch. My gaze remained steady, cold, like steel forged in the fires of heartbreak. "Fix it?" I replied, my tone cutting through the tension like a blade. "You don't get to rewrite history, Aaron. Your choices brought us here." Monica, visibly shaken, tried to salvage what little dignity she had left. Her hands trembled as she clutched her glass, her voice wavering with panic. "I swear, Victoria, I didn't know. If I'd known you were married," she trailed off, her eyes pleading for mercy, but I wasn't about to grant her absolution. Reaching into my purse, I pulled out printed screenshots of their intimate texts, the damning evidence I'd meticulously gathered during those sleepless nights. Sliding them across the table, I watched her face crumple as she read the lines she thought only existed between them. "You knew exactly who he was," I said, my voice dripping with icy resolve. "And now everyone else does too." The room seemed to hold its collective breath as the gravity of the situation sank in. Whispers rippled through the crowd, some guests exchanging shocked glances while others openly stared. Aaron's attempts to intervene grew more frantic, his promises escalating into near hysteria. "Please, Vic, don't do this," he begged, reaching for my hand, but I recoiled as though his touch burned. "Save your apologies," I snapped, my voice sharp enough to slice through his desperation. This wasn't just revenge, it was justice. And as I sat there, flanked by Jack's quiet support, I felt the first flicker of liberation, a fire ignited by reclaiming power over my shattered life. The moment Jack entered the restaurant, the atmosphere shifted like a sudden storm breaking through an already tense sky. In his hand was a bouquet of crimson roses, their velvety petals glowing under the soft chandelier light, a bold declaration of love and new beginnings that seemed to mock Aaron's crumbling world. Every eye in the room turned toward him as he strode confidently across the floor, his presence commanding yet undeniably warm. When he reached our table, he placed the flowers gently in front of me, his smile radiant, almost triumphant. "For you," he said softly, his voice carrying just enough weight for Aaron to hear. The gesture wasn't subtle, it was deliberate, theatrical even, designed to leave no doubt about the bond we shared. Aaron's reaction was immediate and visceral. His jaw tightened, the color draining from his face as his gaze darted between Jack and me. For a fleeting second, I saw something flicker in his eyes, shock, disbelief, but most piercingly, jealousy. It was as if the ground beneath him had cracked open, revealing the abyss of his own making. He had spent months betraying me, lying to both Monica and myself, only to be confronted with this, a man who stood by my side unapologetically, openly adoring me in ways Aaron never had. Jack didn't stop there. With effortless grace, he pulled out the chair next to mine and sat down, his movements calm but deliberate. He took my hand in his, a simple act that felt like a thunderclap in the charged silence of the room. Aaron's fists clenched under the table, I could see the veins in his neck straining against his skin. "Who is this?" he finally managed to choke out, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. But before I could respond, Jack leaned forward slightly, his tone polite but laced with quiet authority. "I'm the man who loves her," he said, meeting Aaron's glare head-on. The words hung in the air like a challenge, sealing the end of Aaron's reign over my life. The fallout from that fateful dinner rippled through Monica's life like a tsunami, leaving devastation in its wake. Within days, the scandal exploded across the local fitness community, a tight-knit world where reputations were everything. Whispers of her affair with Aaron spread faster than wildfire, fueled by screenshots of their intimate texts that somehow made their way online. Her employer acted swiftly, terminating her contract to protect the gym's image. But losing her job was only the beginning. The once vibrant trainer became a pariah, shunned by colleagues and clients alike. Social media posts condemning her actions flooded timelines, and even strangers felt entitled to hurl insults at her. It seemed as though every corner of her professional and personal life had crumbled under the weight of public judgment. In a desperate attempt to salvage what little remained, Monica sent me an email, a long, rambling apology filled with pleas for forgiveness. "Victoria," she wrote, "I never meant to hurt you or anyone else. I truly believed Aaron was divorced. Please believe me when I say I'm sorry." Each word dripped with regret, but they couldn't undo the damage she'd caused. Reading it felt surreal, like watching someone try to patch up a shattered mirror while ignoring the jagged edges still cutting deep into my soul. I stared at the screen for a moment, my finger hovering over the delete button before finally pressing it without hesitation. Closure wasn't something I owed her, not after everything she'd done. As weeks passed, reports surfaced about Monica struggling to find work in any capacity related to fitness. Gyms refused to hire her, fearing backlash from members who now associated her name with betrayal and deceit. She vanished from social circles she once dominated, retreating into obscurity. Meanwhile, I moved forward with my life, unfazed by her attempts at redemption. If anything, seeing her downfall reinforced my resolve. This was justice served, not just for me, but for every victim caught in similar webs of lies. Though I had finally achieved the revenge I so meticulously planned, the scars of Aaron's betrayal ran deeper than any victory could heal. Nights still came with echoes of heartbreak, dreams laced with fragments of what we once were. The wounds left by his lies and Monica's intrusion into our lives weren't erased overnight, they lingered, reminders of a chapter one wished never existed. Yet, amidst the ruins of my shattered marriage, something unexpected began to bloom. Jack, who stood steadfast through every twist of my journey, became more than just an ally. He was a beacon of hope in my darkest hours. His unwavering support reminded me that love, real, honest love, could exist even after devastation. With him, I started rebuilding not only my life but also my faith in humanity. Each shared laugh, each quiet moment of understanding, chipped away at the walls I'd built around my heart. It wasn't easy, there were days when doubt crept back in, whispering cruel reminders of past pain, but Jack's presence silenced those voices. Together, we walked toward a future where forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, and strength wasn't about holding grudges, it was about rising above them. This wasn't just closure, it was rebirth, a testament to resilience and the unyielding power to rewrite one's story.